Okay, so this session I'm going to be going over some review of methods, and then we're going to move on to Pygame sprites, which are Pygame's way of letting you make like objects more easily. They're basically objects with a bunch of built-in functions like an update function and a draw function, so it just makes it easier to like create a player or bullets or whatever you want to build. Okay. Okay, how about this? Everyone, can everyone here do this? What is it called? Midway survey. So it's basically like feedback for the slides and how we can improve them, as well as like so we can make the second half of the sessions, not the sessions, sorry. What are they called? Second half of this teaching semester better. So I think we should go over that first. Oh, and when you're done, can you put something in the chat indicating that you filled it out? Has anyone completed the form yet? Okay, I'm gonna wait 1 more minute. And then if you have anything else, you can just finish the form during like the first exercise. Oh wait. Okay, there's actually one more question, which okay, fine. Apparently, it did not send. Okay, fine. This question, if everyone can just like answer it in the chat right now, or if you want to make it anonymous, I guess you could just send it, DM me directly. But here, okay, I think the link I sent is apparently there's a different form with the same sheet. So basically, the question is, what area of AI are you most interested in learning about? And I put 4 options plus there's like an other option if you thought of something that wasn't mentioned, and I want you to message me with your top 2. Okay, I guess I'll put them in chat as well, so so I don't have to like, so I can just move on with the session and y'all can see these options. Okay. Yeah, okay, thanks, Eric. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead with the session stuff, and so you can remember to send me the your choices out of the AI choice. Send me your picks out of the AI choices, as well as finish. You can finish the, what is it called? The midway feedback form as well on your own time. Okay. So, boop. Yeah. So here's a method review. I think y'all can just go through the slides if you actually need them. But methods, functions within a class. That's all you need to know. And yeah, don't forget the self keyword. Otherwise, a method you won't be able to like call methods on a class. Yeah. So here's our first quick question, review question. How many times is self missing from this class? And what else? Yeah, I think you should be able to do this just based on like the exercise. If you did the end of session exercise from last week, you should probably have tried all of these things. So Oh yeah, Jahan, can you share screen? Oh. Okay. So let's go over this one then. Okay. So first we need self keyword in all of our methods if we actually want to be able to have them access each other. So right now, this if we want the e keyword to be not keyword, the e method to be able to access the byte method, we need self in both of those. And then when you're calling methods within a method, you need the self keyword. So that's for, and then here, if you actually want the variables to belong like to the class, so you want them to be class attributes, then you need two. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or actually, sorry, my bad. Yes, it is self-dubbed by my brain. I was like, that looks weird. So yes, you use self-dubbed by. Don't listen to me. Yeah. Okay, then we're gonna cover inheritance. I'm not gonna go over this too much. I think it's just good to know. So you're familiar with classes, right? And the way inheritance works is if you make a child class of some parent class, then you'll inherit like a bunch of functionality. So for example, if you have these 4 classes of Pokemon, if you made them separately, you would have to like repeat stuff, right? But if you make if you have them all become like the parent class, if you have the 3 evolutions of Eevee be like children of this Eevee class, and you can see how you do is you put the name of the parent class like in the brackets. That's what the brackets after a class is for. And then they actually inherit all of these basic methods or attributes. And then you can add like extra stuff on top of it. So usually you'll see the super keyword used, which is basically super refers to the parent class. So you could just do like EV. I think this is how it goes. Is it EV? Like, I don't remember if you use brackets or not. I don't use that, but that's essentially what the superclass, not superclass, the super method does. So this thing is just like a built-in Python function that helps you like, what's the parent class? It's so in case you ever change the name, you don't have to change it in two places. And so it basically runs the initiation function here. So this over here runs like this init function from the EV class, and it passes in like these two parameters into the initiation. And so then you get your attributes for the Flareon as self.name equals name and self.type equals type. And here we just add like extra methods. Okay. So like I said, you can use the functions from the parent class as well. And you'll see why this is useful soon. I mean, you can probably think of some reasons already. And so yeah, the exercise is actually going to just be like replicate this. So here's your EV class. You can copy and paste it from here. And now we want you to create a child class of this EV class and give it some abilities. Okay, let's do 10. Yeah, let's do 10 minutes. It's pretty short. Should be a short exercise. Midterms. Okay. Now we've dropped down to 7 people. Okay. Back to the where we left off. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, next up we have Pygame sprites. Okay, sprites are class. They're class, and they give you these. There's a few built-in things, like I mentioned before. You got sound, you got images, animations. Actually, no, most of these aren't really built in. The two main things that you'll use is there's an update function, and there's like there's a draw function, which you. Oh yes, there's also. I don't actually think the rect. Actually, maybe the rect is built in. I cannot remember. No, sorry. I don't think the rect is built in. Okay, so the image and the rectangle are properties that the Pygame sprite, like, it expects you to pass in those things or make them when you create one. What's a sprite? Sprite's an object. Anything on the screen is a sprite. Oh yeah, there's transitions. Boom. See, look, everything's a sprite. So anything that generally, if you need to do some sort of collision detection, you should make it a sprite. And so there is usually you would be using images, and you can use the getRect function on an image to get a Pygame object out of it. So you'll use this pretty frequently. Here's an example. Basically, we're creating a fairy class, which inherits from the Pygame sprite class, and over here, it's basically calling the initiation function of the Pygame sprite class, which I don't know exactly what goes on over there, but yeah, if you don't call it, it's not going to work. Okay, there's some imagine like a class that says like pygame.sprite.sprite, right? And it does something in the initiation function, sets everything up. Then what's important is you always need a self.image and a self.rect whenever you create a Pygame sprite, especially because we're going to be using them. You're going to be drawing it on the screen, and you're going to be like, yeah, if you want to be able to draw something on a screen, definitely need the image in the rectangle. I'm pretty sure all Pygame sprites will just require that, although it might, I don't remember, but it might not throw an error if you like don't try and use the draw function. But come on, if you create a sprite, you're probably going to draw it, right? Otherwise, like, why make a sprite? Otherwise, you could be like, oh, this is like the menu, but the menu, if you're going to draw it on the screen, I guess it would be a sprite. But if it's like some sort of physics engine object, then yeah, that you don't have to make that sprite. Yeah, so I think best way to figure this stuff out is just like go build it, right? So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. So update is actually a built-in class for Pygame, or method, built-in method of Pygame sprites. You can, so you'll see where this comes in later, but first, if you, whatever you define in this update method, later on you can like call the, what is it? There's some things that you can do. You can like put them into like a group and you can update the entire group, and it just calls them update method of every single item in the group. So it is the update keyword specifically has some significance. Okay. Oops. We're with images. We're gonna go, and there's a link to the image. You click on it, you download it, you save it as a name, and usually you want to have an assets folder because it's, well, for organization purposes, and put all your images and stuff in there. Usually it's just your images. Oh, sounds and images would go into the assets folder. And you use the OS module, basically helps you with file pathing. And so basically your image location is just a string. And so os.path.join, it adds like the appropriate, backslash or forward slash or whatever, depending on what your file system is. And so the key is that you make sure your assets folder is in the same folder as your, what is it? As your like Pygame file. And oops. So like main.py and assets are in the same like level of branching. And the other thing is in VS Code, you want to open like, if you're, let's say you have a folder called like, game, then game should contain like your main.py folder and your assets folder. You don't want to open like your home folder, which has like a bunch of branching, like, or like, let's say documents, right? Like you don't want to open that. You want to open the, you want to get as direct as possible. Okay, how to demonstrate it? Whatever. If you run into a bug, you'll know. It might be like a folder thing. Other than that, we have our next quick question, and question is, what is missing? What is missing? Actually, yeah, I think it's pretty easy because it's multiple choice, but you try looking at it without looking at the multiple choice options. Try to figure it out first, and then once you think you know what it is, you can go answer it. Or if you give up. Multiple choice is too easy. We should make a short answer. Actually, that's what we'll do next time. Next time, we'll change everything to short answer. Unless it's like a tricky one. Maybe. But you know what? Whatever. If you go and like experiment with your code, then you're gonna learn a lot anyways. So. Who hasn't answered? Okay. Okay. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe multiple choice is fine. Wait, how many people are answering? Okay, let's go back. 4 people. Let's go back. Yeah, it's just you gotta initiate pygame.sprite.sprite because it's got some secret sauce. You can find it in the you can, if you really want, you can go into so Pygame is just like a huge library. It's just a bunch of code. Like it's a huge well, I think it's one file. It's one file and there's like a bunch of functions in it. That's all Pygame really is. There's no like usually sometimes they compile stuff so it's like more efficient, but I would say most libraries are just like like they're just like, some person a while ago they're like, oh, this would be really good to have, so let's make a function for that, and then they publish it into a library if it's like useful enough and a lot of people use it. And then sometimes they'll optimize certain functions by writing them in like different languages which are like more that basically they run faster, or they'll like compile it with like machine language like at a lower level so that it's like more efficient. That's you can just think of it as like a huge file with a bunch of built-in functions. Yeah. So draw functions not necessary. I don't remember what the other multiple choice options were, but you only really need the draw function if you're actually going to draw it. So that's, yeah. Okay, next we have sprite groups. They're kind of like lists, but with like a little more functionality. So you can actually get a lot of the same functionality with like lists, but there's a few things where you can check like, oh, is there a specific item in this? Actually, you know what? I think this is what the documentation's for. Pygame groups. You can look them up. Okay, let's go. So yeah, okay, fine. There's a bunch of things that are basically really similar to lists, where you could just use a list instead of a Pygame group. It was literally like okay. It's actually really similar to a list, but it's a little better for checking like membership and stuff. Because if you had to do a list, you would just have to like, you might have to do a few things yourself. And so the two big things that you won't have in a list. Well, actually, you could do this with a list as well, just like a loop over a list. So No, okay. It's basically it's a little bit of extra functionality. Pygames.sprite.group kind of saves you the hassle of making a group, not a group, a for loop and a list, because you probably achieve most of it with that. And that's probably what they did in the actual group object. It's yeah. So how do you use it? Well, you make a group and then you add objects with the .add function, and then you can call these fairies as a group, right? And you call the draw method of the fairies group, and you specify where you want to draw them, and it draws them. Or if you want to call the update function, which we defined earlier, over here, for example, then it calls the update function on them. So that brings us to our exercise, and we want you to add a player sprite instead of a player class. So you can use your code from the previous one if you, assuming you did the exercise. Images are here, so you can click the link in the slide. And then second part is replace the platform class with a platform sprite. And there's also this platform.py file, which it uses like one platform image, but then it replicates the little square as many times as it needs relative to the length of your platform. Otherwise, if you just use like a single image, you would have like distortion. If you just scaled it up, it would look stretched. So that's what the platform.py file does. You're also going to need the platform underscore tile image. And then there's a bonus. Yeah, so if you finish those two, you should try the bonus. Go animate the player. Okay. So if you want to go, you can go, but we have 30 more minutes where you should probably stay and like chill out with us mentors. Oh, I'm not sharing the right screen. Blah. But basically that was exercise. That's the exercise. I was looking at these. So that you should probably stay so that you can just like ask questions if something comes up while you're working on the exercise. That's what I recommend. And yeah, I'll stop recording though.